an ocean of faults. Dosa means faults. Dosha. Yeah, not dosa. Dosha. Yeah, not what you eat, the South Indian dosas, but yeah, dosha. So it's an ocean of faults, dosha. Nidhe means ocean, so an ocean of faults. However, there's one good thing. Eka mahadguna. Ek means one. Eka. One. Mahad means great, and guna means quality. And that's Kirtanad Eva Krishnasya. So the chanting of Krishna's names. That's the one good quality in Kali Yuga. Apart from that, don't expect to find many good things. But that is the good thing, that in Kali Yuga, if we just chant, we can get out of here. We can get free. And then it says in the last line something like Mukta Param Vrajet. That's not the full, I missed some of it, but that you can, from chanting the Hare Krishna, why that is such a good thing in Kali Yuga, because just by doing that, then we can get mukti, param, we can get the supreme freedom. Once you've got mukti, then no more jabs. No one can, do anything to us, free from all this stuff. But as long as we're here, that's why we're called conditioned souls. We're subject to so many conditions. So the condition of old age, condition of disease, condition of death, of again rebirth, and so many things. Have to pay taxes and subject to the heat and the cold, the wind and the rain. So yeah, we're subject, and mental problems and so many things, so many conditions. But if we just focus on chanting, then if we can perfect our chanting, then we're out of here. And then we could not call a conditioned soul anymore. Then you're called a liberated soul, Mukta Purusha. Mukta Purusha. Then you're free. Then you're completely free. Of course, we're always under Krishna's control, but it's a loving relationship, and we're not forced by Maya to do anything. We're just bound by a loving relationship with Krishna, and we do what he wants. So it doesn't mean when you're a Mukta Purusha that you don't do what Krishna wants. No, it means you're still under his control, but that's out of love. Out of love, you want to serve him. But free in the sense like Narada Muni, like Narada, he's a Mukta Purusha, and he just travels wherever he likes. Any universe, he wants to go to the spiritual world, okay, go there today. I want to go to the, Brahma Loka today, I'll go there. I want to go to Bhumi, Mother Earth, and go there and preach to some people there, I'll go there. I want to go to Naraka to preach to the people in hell, I'll go there. He has that freedom, and he's always happy serving the Lord like that. But going back to what you said, Narendra, that you got fast internet speed. So yeah, that was the problem I was talking about moving from Skype, is because we're not able to save the things. That's interesting. Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, I can try, see what happens. I mean, yeah, whether I can download it quicker or not, or it's something to do with the Skype or something. So I'll have a look first. I'll look.
No, well, the thing is that Jayanti said it sits on Skype for a month, then they delete it. So you can see it on Skype for a month, but if you want to keep it more than a month, then you have to move it somewhere. So she was moving it to YouTube. But it was what does she call it? I can't remember whether she calls it uploading or downloading.
Yeah, uploading. So it's
uploading.
Yeah. So she has to download in the computer and then upload to YouTube. So upload speed. She was saying ADSL. So it will be slower. Yes. So I've got.
Yeah. So it wasn't fully getting uploaded. So she realized that later. So.
Yeah, I think that shouldn't be a problem with my one, but the only thing is I have to look at whether we can download it faster or not. So I'll have a look, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, I mean, it still might be an interesting exercise to see what FaceTime or whatever it's called
Facebook
is like. So that might have some good points or bad points. It might be good. We can just check it out. And if people don't like it, then we can always come back to Skype, and then and like you say, you or someone else can do the uploading, downloading, or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. So yeah, next Thursday we'll talk about it some more, and then take it from there. But thanks for that. No, that's really good. Okay, time is precious. Let's get into it, huh? So we're on a new verse today.
Yeah.
So Isopanisad mantra 10. So we can recite the Sanskrit first. Anya devahur vidyaya.
Anyad ibahur vidyaya.
Nyadahur vidyaya.
Nyayadahur avidyaya.
Iti shushrumadhiranam.
Iti sushruma
Dhiranam.
Yenastadvichakshire.
Yenastad vichakshare.
Okay, hand it over to you both. Who wants to go first? Ladies first.
Okay, yeah.
That was last week. Hey, it's
That
your
was
turn.
like, okay, men first this week.
Okay.
We'll be equal to the sexes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Anyad ibahur vidyaye.
Anya devahur vidyaya.
Nyad ahur avidyaya.
Nyadahur vidyaya.
Yeah.
Iti shushruma dhiranam.
Iti shushrumadhiranam.
Yenastad vichakshare.
Yenastadvichakshire.
Vichakshare.
Very good, yeah. Good. Oh yeah, Vichachakshire. Yeah, I missed out a cha. Vichachakshire, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's fine.
Whenever you're ready, Deepa, your turn.
Oh, my turn.
Yeah, yeah. You didn't think you were going to get out of that, did you?
Anyad evahur vidyaya.
Anya devahur vidyaya.
Nyadahur vidyaya.
Nyadahur vidyaya.
Iti sushruma dhiranam.
Iti shushrumadhiranam.
Yenastat vichachakshire.
Yenastadvichachakshire. Very good. Both of you did really well.
Thank you. You got a good teacher, innit?
Yeah, that's right.
Who also makes mistakes.
That's right.
Okay, Narendra, do you want to read the translation?
Yeah. The wise have explained that one result is derived from the culture of knowledge, and that a different result is obtained from culture of nescience.
Mm. Okay, so we're hearing now about in the last verse in this one, continuing the theme of being in ignorance, not having real knowledge. So this verse is telling us that if you cultivate, or culture means to cultivate, right? So if you cultivate knowledge, you'll get one result, and if you cultivate ignorance, you're going to get another result, which is logical, right? And that's what I like about Vedic culture. It's like it's presented very scientifically, because that's science, right? You follow a particular experiment and you're going to get a result, right? You're always going to get some result. You mix, an acid with an alkaline or whatever, and there's going to be an explosion or something. So, and if you do a different experiment, you'll get a different result. You're not going to do two different experiments, are you, and get the same result?
Mm-mm.
No. If you drive north from Sydney, or another option, you drive south from Sydney, are you going to reach the same destination?
No, unless it's a roundabout way, maybe.
One, you're going to go to the North Pole and one the South Pole, or if you go east, you're going to end up in the ocean, so you're not going to achieve the same destination no matter which way you go. If you were going to say, oh, you drive any way you want to go from Sydney and everyone's going to arrive at the same place, then that's just crazy. Who would accept that? That's just a ridiculous, thing to say. And the Vedas is also not accepting that. If you follow a different process, you're going to get a different result. You're not going to get the same result. Some foolish so-called spiritual people, they say things that, like one Bengali saint, he termed the phrase yatomat tatopat, which is quite famous. I'm not sure if either of you are aware of that, but especially if you're a Bengali going back some years ago, you probably would have heard it. Yatomat tatopat. That means, whatever you take, whatever path you want, it's all going to end up in the same destination. It's all going to end up in the same destination like that. But Prabhupada heavily criticized that philosophy, and that stuffed up a lot of people. Like we mentioned, like it was mentioned in the last verse, we're still are those engaged in the culture of so-called knowledge. So, if more worse than being ignorant, if you propagate ignorance to other people, that's even worse. So just propagating, ignorant philosophy is that's just terrible. So this is very scientific. You follow the path of knowledge, you'll get a particular result. You follow the path of ignorance, you'll get a different result. It won't be the same result. Okay, so let's read through the purport. So Prabhupada, he's going to talk about this translation by referring to some verses from the Bhagavad Gita, which if you have that with you now, you can look at that. If you don't, then you can look at it later. It's interesting to look at those verses. It's 5 verses in the Bhagavad Gita. So it's interesting to compare because he's actually giving a very special translation to those verses in the Bhagavad Gita that you don't see that in the Bhagavad Gita. What he's writing here, you don't see exactly the same. He's expanding it a little bit more here than what's in the Bhagavad Gita. So he's giving 18 items. What Krishna's saying in the 13th chapter in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's explaining these items is vidya, as knowledge. And he says, and Krishna says there, that apart from these items, that everything else is ignorance, is avidya. So these items is knowledge, vidya, and apart from these items, everything else is avidya. So, but it's interesting, what we're reading here is a little bit different, or more than what's written in the Bhagavad Gita. And I really find it fascinating because I know what it is in the Bhagavad Gita. So reading it here, it's nice because you're getting a little bit different angle and some more depth here, which is nice. So I'm going to Deepa can start reading, but I'm gonna stop you very often because I want to look at the individual points. Okay, so you can start reading.
As advised in chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, one should culture knowledge in the following way. One should become a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others.
So in the Bhagavad Gita, this is amanitvam adambitvam, which Prabhupada translates there. Amanitvam is humility and adambitvam is pridelessness. But yeah, so here he's giving it a little bit more than that. One should be a perfect gentleman and learn to give proper respect to others. So yeah, humility and pridelessness in the Bhagavad Gita, it's said. And here he's saying, be a perfect gentleman. Actually, it reminds me, one time, a devotee asked Prabhupada, what does it really mean to be a Vaishnava, to be a devotee? Explain what is a Vaishnava, a devotee. Prabhupada said a devotee is a perfect gentleman, perfect gentle lady.
Gentle lady.
Very gentle. Because when you say that the word gentle like that, gentle, that means like all good qualities. Someone that's gentle means they have all good qualities. Very gentle. And so that's, to be gentle means that you're very humble and you're not proud. If you're a gentleman is very humble and not proud. So according to Krishna, this is the beginning of the process of knowledge. Actually, Krishna explains it that this is a process. It's interesting, isn't it? Process indicates that, there's like step 1 and step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6. So this is the beginning of the process of self-realization, the process of knowledge, of achieving the process of knowledge is the process that helps us to become self-realized. So that process begins with knowledge. Prabhupada in the purport in the Bhagavad Gita says that this process of knowledge is like a ladder. At the end of the purport in the Bhagavad Gita, he says it's like a ladder, and the ladder begins with humility. That's like, a ladder has rungs, right? It has rungs on the ladder. So the first rung that you're going to put your foot on, going up the ladder of self-realization or the ladder of knowledge, is you got to put your foot on the rung of humility. It means you got to realize that God is great and I am very small, and pride is the opposite. Pride means I'm very big, I'm very huge, I'm very big. So humility is that feeling that we're very small, but pride is that feeling that we're very big. And you can't progress in spiritual life without that humility. As long as the pride is there, you can't progress. It's impossible. If we think we're big, why do you want to come closer to God if you think you're big? If we think we're big, it means, I have everything I want. I am strong, I am powerful, I am intelligent, I'm surrounded by, powerful friends and family and everything. My country is great and everything. I have lots of money, great amount of money. I am greatly learned, PhD, BSc, MBA, everything. I have great knowledge. Then, you're not going to be attracted to come to God because you think you already have everything. You think there's no one else can give you anything that you don't already have. Like you hear that people say, I am already knowing Bhagavad Gita. It's like you can't tell them anything. I am knowing Bhagavad Gita. So what? Then that's the end of the conversation. You can't really say anything because they already think they know everything. So there's a saying which is very true that opposites attract. Have you heard that? Opposites attract.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So can you see how there would be an attraction between God being great and we being small? Opposites, right? Opposite. Meaning like for example, one opposite, he's independent. He doesn't need anybody. Swarat, it's called, Swarat. Like in India, they were looking for Swaraj to become independent from the British. Independent, right? But God is actually the only one that's independent. And we are the opposite to that. So we are dependent, right? So when you're dependent, what are you looking for?
You're looking for who you are dependent on. I mean, for everything.
That's right. Yeah. So you need that. You're attracted for that. You know, like a child, right? A child is dependent. So what is the child looking for? Like especially a baby, it's looking for the mother, the father. You know, they're opposites. You know, the mother and father are not dependent. The child is dependent. The mother and father is independent. You know, so and that dependent child naturally is searching for the, you know, the very powerful, you know, and the provider, the maintainer, you know, the parent like that. And also that you could say independent parent is very attracted to that helpless child, isn't it? When you see that child is like, Mommy, Daddy, help me, feed me, I'm hungry, you know, whatever, you know, then you're very attracted that they need you, isn't it? They need you, you know. If we are calling out to God, then what do you think God's response is going to be to that? We cry out to God, Krishna, save me. What do you think will happen? No response?
Yes, there will be.
There will be a response. Like if the child cries to the parents, definitely there's a response. If the child doesn't cry out, then what will happen? Will there be any response from the parent? No. If the child thinks, I don't need my mum and dad, then there's no response. But if the child cries out, Mummy, I need you, Dad, I really need you, then immediately there's a response. You know, if the child calls up from some faraway place and says, hey, Mum, Dad, I'm really in the poo, you know, come and help me, they're immediately going to jump in the car and they're going to come. You know, if the child cries out, you know, I mean, I remember when I was young, I was outside playing, I fell out of a tree. And my mum and dad, immediately they came. Yeah, immediately they came to help me. You know, I was unconscious because I fell on my head.
Wow.
So that's the situation, you know. So it's like that. Opposites attract. If we think we're very big, then neither we're attracted to God and neither God's attracted to us. You understand?
Mm. I think that's ignorance, right? Not knowing that you are dependent on something which
Yeah.
you can't see and you don't actually do. So that's where the problem is. You need to know that you are not independent. You are dependent on somebody, and that's the of that is the ignorance. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You don't know because you are dependent on God for everything, because everything around you is created by God. So
yeah, ignorance means you're seeing everything in the wrong way. So you're small, but you think you're big. You're weak, but you think you're powerful. Yeah, you know, you're stupid, but you think you're intelligent. You know, it's like that, you know, and you know, we live like and we think like we're never going to die, but actually the body is going to die. You know, there's a saying, right? Live like there's no tomorrow. It's like people do like that. They're completely oblivious to what's coming up in the future, even though everyone knows that, that everyone dies. But the way people live is completely in ignorance of death. We don't prepare for death, isn't it? Individually or collectively or whatever. Who prepares for death? I mean, if you're going to jump on a plane, do you do any preparations?
Yeah.
You pack your bag.
You just jump on any plane in the airport?
You prepare.
Or you buy the ticket.
Would you get onto a plane if you didn't know where the plane was going to land?
No.
It might land in Afghanistan. You better be careful. So why do we go through our lives? We don't know where we're going to end up. Isn't that ridiculous? That's ignorance, isn't it? I mean, we wouldn't do that we wouldn't get into a car if we didn't know where the car is going to finish up. What's the destination? We wouldn't get on a plane, but we get into this whole life is also called, this body is called a yantra, means a machine. So we've entered into this machine, this yantra of a material body, and we don't know where it's going. And no one thinks about that. And you ask people, where are you going? Oh, I just got to go somewhere. I just got to run. Where are you running to? I mean, I remember one time I stopped a guy on a busy street in Auckland called Queen Street. I stopped him. I was distributing books. And he was in a real hurry. I don't know, it was a miracle that he stopped. But anyway, I somehow tricked him into stopping and tried to interest him in the books. And then I can't remember whether he bought a book or didn't buy a book. But anyway, he was coming headlong, one direction. And when he left me, he went back the same way he came from. So it means he wasn't even remembering where he's heading to. He's just got to run. He's not even really understanding deeply what is his destination. The only impulse is that he's got to go. He's got to move. It's interesting, actually, this material world in Sanskrit is called Jagat. Jagat.
Yeah.
And Jagat, interestingly, the universe is called Jagat, means the universe. And Jagat means moving. Because actually, if you look at it, every planet in the universe is moving very fast. I mean, it doesn't look like it when you're looking at the sky at night, unless you see a shooting star. But actually, everything is moving. I mean, every second, this Earth planet is moving thousands of kilometers, through space every second. But it's so well designed by God that you can't even feel the bumps. Whereas, a plane goes much slower than what the Earth is going in air, and you do feel the bumps. So it means the God's machine and our man-made machine is not as good as God's one. But the thing is, everything's moving, and also people are just mad running around, but they don't really think. They don't really know where they're going to, and it's a really unfortunate situation, and that's one of the effects of our being, like we're saying, conditioned soul being controlled by the Rajaguna. This is the effect of the Rajaguna, the mode of passion, that you just activity, intense activity. But people are not thinking about what's going to be the outcome of my activity. Where am I going? What's the destination? People they're just pushed to act, but they don't think about the consequences. They don't think about the consequences. And one of the worst kinds of ignorance that's propagated through our modern education system and gone right through society is that after the death of this body, there's nothing. There's not another body. But that really perpetuates this just running around and not caring about the consequences. because actually there are consequences. Our actions in this life determine where we go in the next life. But because this knowledge has been propagated, that it's just one life and you just enjoy it whatever way you can, and then you're not held accountable for your actions and all this kind of thing. There's no reactions, and then people become even more crazy. Unfortunate. You don't want to say anything about that?
I think that's why they, live as though there's no tomorrow.
Yeah.
Exactly that, because they don't believe there is anything past death or the end of life. That they just maximize on the enjoyment. That was.
But this fact that we're ignorant of the next life doesn't mean that there won't be a next life, whether we know it or not. Like, whether you know it or not, that it's wrong to exceed the speed limit, you will get stopped by the police and you will get a fine like that. So whether you know or not, that, like, sometimes a tourist will come right from another country and that they drive on the other side of the road, but that's no excuse. You can't go in the court and say, oh, I come from the USA, and in the USA they drive on the right hand side of the road, and so you got to let me off because I was ignorant of your rules. They're not going to accept that. They say, you come to our country, your responsibility is to find out what our rules are, otherwise don't drive. So, a human being has to know these things. You can't plead ignorance with a man-made law. What to speak of God's laws? You can't say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that I didn't have to wear a mask. They're going to say, no, you have to know. You're going to get a fine. Isn't it in Australia? They're very strict, aren't they? If you break their COVID rules, then they immediately give you a fine, isn't it? How big are the fines? If you don't follow their lockdown rules and stuff?
If you don't wear a mask, it's around $300. Or if you, I don't know. They're quite big fines, actually. If you breaking the curfew, or you are more than 5 people, or you are going out for thing which is not required, you might be charged in thousands, I think. I don't know.
Yeah. And if you say, sorry, I didn't read the news, I didn't know that, then what are they going to do? You think they're going to let you off?
No, we'll still get fined.
Yeah, still going to get fined. So, a human being can't plead ignorance. You're still going to have to suffer the consequences. And it's big consequences, for a human being, because we do have that more developed consciousness where we're supposed to know right from wrong. Every human being is supposed to know right from wrong. So, but in modern society, people are not being taught what's right from wrong. And it might seem like they are, but everything they say is right is usually wrong. And everything they say is wrong is usually right. So they've got it like, that's the thing. When you're that's the other one. So Rajagun, mode of passion. The other one is Tamagun, mode of ignorance. So when people are in the mode of ignorance, everything's like upside down. Everything's back to front. They say there's no God, but actually there is God. They say there's no soul, but there is a soul. They say there's no life after death, but there is life after death. So they've got it completely backwards. So basically, if you want to find out what the truth is, basically you have to say everything opposite to what they say. And then you'll find out what the truth is. But, the Vedas explains. But anyway, this is the beginning of the path of self-realization is humility, being a real gentleman, being very humble, be respectful. And especially why humility is very valuable to achieve self-realization is because you'll only be able to get the real benefit from associating with devotees of the Lord, associating with the spiritual master, the guru, if you're humble. like I said, you know, if you're proud and when the guru or devotee says something, you're going to say, oh, I already know Bhagavad Gita. Don't need to tell me. I know everything. You know, so then you've lost the opportunity. You know, so humility is essential for learning. You know, if you want to learn something, you have to be humble. And spiritual life means there's a lot to learn because, like I said, we're all ignorant. We're conditioned by ignorance, and there's a lot of knowledge we need to learn. And you're only going to be able to learn that knowledge if you're humble. If we're proud, then I'm sorry, but you know you've disqualified yourself, you know, by that pride. And it's interesting, you know, that you know, we would all probably say that Albert Einstein is a greatly learned person. You know, he's like genius, IQ of, I don't know what his IQ was, huge IQ, genius. But one thing he said is, the more I know, then I realize the less I know. Does that make sense? He's so clever, it can be hard to understand what he's talking about. But he, not exactly probably word for word what he said, but it was basically like that. The more I know, the more I learn, then I realize the less that I know. Because he was studying the universe and everything, right? And the more he looked into the universe, the more he realized, I know bugger all. We're so insignificant. You know, when he got more and more knowledge about just how great the universe is, then his own position became revealed as becoming very, very small. That we're just one speck, isn't it? We're just one speck in the corner of the universe. And you know, this planet is one speck. I'll just one little story that Prabhupada said in a class that there's many, many universes, and this is just one small universe amongst millions of universes called Koti Koti. So many, many millions and millions of universes, and this is just one universe. And with huge, you know, material creation. And then this is just one small universe. And within this one universe, there's millions and millions of planets. And there's just one tiny planet called Earth. One tiny planet called Earth. And then within this Earth, then there's so many continents. And then there's so many countries. And then there's just one tiny little country. And then within this one country, then there's so many cities. And then there's one little city. And in this one little city, you know, there's so many houses. And there's this one little house. And this one little house, and he mentioned a devotee's name, Tamal Krishna. And then he said, and then Tamal Krishna, he thinks he's very big. Isn't it? We think we're very important, we're very big, but actually we're just a tiny speck like that. And like you'll mention, I mean, you'll read sometimes in the prayers of devotees that what is their prayer for perfection? They pray that may I become like a particle of dust at your lotus feet, my Lord Krishna. My goal is to become just a particle of dust. That would be a great thing. That would be a great achievement for us, just to become a speck of dust at Krishna's feet. You know, we're so small. But the thing is that, see, we have some concocted idea that it's bad to be small. But where did we get that from? That's illusion, actually. There's not like we were talking about before, children and the parents. Is it bad to be a child? Is it going to be misfortunate, unfortunate, you know, bad to be a child? living under, great parents? Is that a bad position to be in, to be a child? No, it's good. The parents provide everything for you. Everything's provided for free, and you're protected, you're safe, you're maintained, you're fed, clothed, educated, everything. You're fully taken care of, being small like that. You feel, peaceful, secure, safe, everything like that, maintained, everything. So where did we get that from, that it's bad to be small? It's actually very good to be small. But the main thing is not being small. The main thing is that we have someone that is big to look after us. That's the main point. If you're small, it's fine, and there's no problem as long as there's someone that's big and powerful to look after us. So, and we have that, as a small soul. Actually, the soul in Sanskrit is called Anu. Anu. We're very small. The Atma, the soul, is described as Anu. And Krishna, God, he's Paramatma, the Supreme Soul. He's known as Vibhu. So Vibhu, he's very great. He's very powerful. And we're Anu. And there's nothing wrong with being Anu as long as you have the Vibhu, the great, looking after you, But if we try to project ourselves as being Vibhu, as being great, that's very frustrating and very scary, because actually, if we try to go on our own without Krishna's support, then like now, the whole world is in a very fearful situation.
I think we are here because we think like that, isn't it? Because we are in here to correct that. So he has sent us to correct this mentality we have, that we are big. So he's just, and that's where I think this is a place where we need to correct our thinking. That's the purpose. That's the sole purpose. To correct that and go back to your being spiritual qualities. So this is kind of correctional center, 5-star or something, where you need to fix yourself. The purpose of here, I think the purpose of her life is to get to God is he's the whole soul, he's the controller. You are just here because. So this is kind of to me, I'm just doing an analogy in the sense that it's a kind of correctional center. When we are coming here, we go through the process, and some people can identify the purpose, some can't because they don't have knowledge. So those who don't, they keep going through the cycle of death and birth. And then you have to learn and come out of. So I think the thing people are not asking is, what's my purpose here? That's the basic thing. If you think why I am here, just like, as you said, animal propensity, you just sleep, mate, defend, and just all those things. So those animals do too. So there must be a purpose. There must be a different purpose. I think that's where people don't think, and that's where scriptures come in, and devotees come, and people who already know come. But still, But I think that's the purpose, to correct ourselves and go back to Godhead, qualify and re-qualify. I think that nice. Knowledge is not the knowledge, that particular knowledge is not there.
So on the path of that knowledge, then the result will be going back to Godhead, liberation. And on the path of ignorance, the result will be, like you say, repeated birth and animal species, come back again, different planets, like that. There's one verse I'm learning in the Bhagavad Gita at the moment, towards the end of the 14th chapter, Udvam Gachanti Sattvasta, saying that if you live in the mode of goodness, then you're going to go, Urdvam means upwards, Sattvaguna, then you're going to go upwards. If you live in Madhya Tistanti Rajasa, if you live in the mode of passion, Rajasa, you're going to, Madhya means in the middle, so it means you'll come back to this earthly realm, which is, the earth is in the middle of the universe. So you'll come back to this middle part of the universe if you're in the mode of passion. And adho gachanti tamasa. If you're in ignorance, then you're going down. If you're in ignorance, you're going down. So that's the result of this, avidya, is you're going to go down. It means in the lower species of life, the lower planets, like that. So it's not good, So ignorance is definitely to be avoided. Passion is sort of still not good. I mean, it could be better, it could be worse, and mode of goodness is what we desire, to go upwards, meaning at least in the goodness means you go to the heavenly planets. At least people there are pious and they're God conscious and there's no sinful activities. And then, of course, transcendental, that's called Shuddha Sattva. So you've got Sattva, goodness, ordinary goodness, and then Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. That means transcendental. That means devotional service. That means Krishna consciousness. So that's Shuddha Sattva. And then you're out of here. And then it's up, up, and away. Okay. So let's read Adipa. Do you want to read number 3? Yeah.
One should not become a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body, by the thoughts of his mind, and by his words.
Okay, so in Bhagavad Gita, this is ahimsa, which means non-violence. So this word non-violence, Prabhupada is expanding it here, the meaning of non-violence. Not be a source of anxiety to others by the actions of his body, by mind or words. So that's quite a lot, isn't it? Interesting that if you, in previous to Kali Yuga, if you even think something offensive to someone else, you get a reaction for that. But in Kali Yuga, that's one thing we're let off the hook. If you think bad about someone or think some bad towards someone, like I wish them harm or something, then you don't get a reaction to that in Kali Yuga, which is good news. But in previous ages, it's even more responsibility that even if you think some bad thought, you'll get a reaction to that. But it's still not good, even in Kali Yuga, to like this, try to, even think about giving someone some anxiety or difficulty, even think about it, because like they say, there's some saying, what does it say? What's that?
Thoughts become actions, no?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. Yeah, that eventually what you're thinking will become manifest. It will become a reality. It will come into an action. If you keep thinking bad, eventually it's going to come out. And as soon as it comes out, then you've committed some violence towards that, that living entity. You've committed that violence towards the living entity. And there's many reasons why that's an obstacle for self-realization, that you are committing violence to another living thing. One is that, say, for example, I kill someone, apart from me, getting punished by the law system or whatever, after I die, then that soul of whoever I killed will get put into a position where they can kill me. So that means, like an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, whatever goes around comes around, as you sow shall you reap. So even like, for example, not even humans, say now the human being kills a cow. So the human being next life takes birth as a cow, and the cow takes birth as a human, and then that human kills the cow, which when I was a human before, You know, so it means you are locked into samsara. It locks you, violence locks you into another birth, another death, another birth, another death. You know, I kill you, you kill me, then I kill you, you kill me, and then it keeps on going around and round and round. So it's very entangling, you know. Another thing is that why that system is set up, because, you know, God is the father of all living creatures. Mamaivam Shaujiva. We're all part and parcel of God. So he doesn't tolerate any kind of violence to his children from other children. So those children that are going to, you know, hurt other of his children, they're going to get punished by the father, isn't it? As we would. You know, if the big brother beats up the younger brother, you know, the parent's not going to accept that, you know, isn't it? You can't just, or imagine one of the children's retarded. They're completely retarded. They're ignorant. And the intelligent child thinks, oh, this child's useless. It's retarded. Let me kill it. So Prabhupada gave it as an example to the animals. They're like retarded children. They're completely ignorant. You know, we're human beings are so intelligent, and the animals are like retards. You know, so we just kill them. You know, they're useless. They're just retarded. But from the parent's point of view, does he not love his child because it's retarded? No, of course not. Of course not. In fact, the parent will give more protection to the retarded one because it's helpless. Like I said once again, is more dependent. So like that, you know, that from God's point of view, see, man's law is not perfect because we don't care about protecting the animals. We only care about protecting the humans. But God's law is more perfect than our faulty man-made law. And God's law protects every living entity. No living entity has a right to unnecessarily, you know, hurt another living entity. Of course, you know, every living entity has to eat something. So, because that question naturally will be there. But like it says, Ishavasya Savam. So in the beginning of Isopanisad, that every being has a quota. So the quota for a human being is fruits and vegetables and grains and nuts and dairy products and so forth. It's not eating animals. That's not our quota. So immediately you eat something outside your quota, then you're punishable. And also apart from that, you know, even with our quota, we're supposed to offer that to him first. And then by it being prasadam, then it's sanctified, and there's no sinful reaction for killing, being violent towards that lettuce or carrot or whatever it is. You know, there's no violence there because it's been offered to the Lord, so it's purified of any reactions, and in fact it's purifying us. It's beneficial. And like I heard recently, Prabhupada, someone asked, what happens, Prabhupada, when you offer a flower to Krishna? What happens to the plant? And Prabhupada said the soul in that plant gets a human form of life in the next life. Can you believe it? That's far out. Because ordinarily from a plant's body, it's going to be millions of births to get up to a human body, the soul's evolution and reincarnation. It'll take millions of births to get up from a plant's body to a human body. But if a flower from the plant is offered by the devotee to Krishna, then Krishna gives that soul in that plant a free ticket to a human form of life. So that would be the same also, like if you pick an apple off the apple tree and offer that to Krishna, the soul in that apple tree gets a human form of life in the next life. So you're not committing violence. You're actually doing a great service. But you can't take that with the meat, say, you know, I'll kill the sheep and offer that to Krishna. because Krishna doesn't eat sheep. Krishna eats apples and smells flowers, but he doesn't eat sheep, and definitely not cows. And so that's, you're not going to get any, there's not going to be beneficial to the animal or anything like that. And interesting, huh? So that's about, so that's part of knowledge too, of being non-violent, yeah. And once again, it's thinking that that we're bigger than someone else. Is pride. See, pride's there, and that leads to the next thing, violence. See, violence is there because pride is there. You think a humble person is violent? No. A humble person can never be violent. Even say you're walking on the street and someone bumps into you, right? A humble person will just say, sorry, I bumped into you. Even the other person bumped into him. He didn't do anything wrong. But because he's humble, he will say, sorry, I bumped you. Like that. So that's humility, that, even if you're done nothing wrong, even you're put in a difficult situation, but you'll always take the humble approach. And so it's very difficult for a humble person to offend another person. Very difficult. A proud person is always offending others. And, like someone, bumps into a proud person, they'll say, how dare you? How dare you touch me, you rascal? You're such a demon. You like that, so they a small thing and they make it a very big problem, and that's so true in modern day society, that just over small things, isn't it, that turns into big quarrels. And you think, where did that big argument come from? And probably started from some small thing like, oh, he spilt some tomato sauce on my shirt or something, and then after I punched him in the head, and then he kicked me, and like that, it becomes a big thing. And sometimes even they have what's called family feuds in that, right? And it can even go on generations. It's even, the person never even did anything to you, but his great grandfather did that to my great grandfather, and so I still want to kill everyone. It's like that. So it's it's like inbuilt, and it's like that. Even like it's inbuilt within Muslims that they hate Hindus, or inbuilt within Hindus that they hate Muslims, or whatever like that. It's like, even that no one might have done anything to you, but it's just something happened a long time ago or whatever like that. And I'm not saying that many times there's no justification. Sometimes there is justification, but it's a matter of how we respond to the situation. So you can't control over what happens to you, isn't it? To the action that happens. But where your free choice comes in, we have what's called minute free choice. You don't have any free choice about what happens to you. But, like whether it's a rainy day or a sunny day or whatever like that, or whether you're rich or poor or whatever like that, or whether people are nice to you or they're not nice to you. But what you do have the free choice over is how you respond to that. That's being hot or cold. Oh, I'm so miserable. It's such a horrible day. The weather is so bad. Or you could think, wow, look, I it's a good opportunity. Like, it's raining outside. I can stay inside and read Bhagavad Gita. So you could take it in a positive way or a bad way. Or same with anything. It's how you respond to it. They bump you. Okay. No worries. That doesn't matter. It's not important. Or you could get upset and really angry. Why did you touch me? So that's where we should, humble person will respond in a very humble way, and a proud person will respond, in a very proud way, and be violent and angry and offensive and so forth. We're pretty much finished our time, but does anyone want to say anything?
I think, that the humility is the starting point, as you said, the first rung on the ladder. That's
yeah.
If you want to improve we need to be. We need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see if humility's not there, it means pride's going to be there. If pride's there, then we're going to be offensive to others, do violence. And violence is there, then how are you going to get close to God? Because God loves everybody. If you don't love everybody, then what happened to your relationship with God? Where is it going to go? It's going to go nowhere fast. That's where it's going to go. You know, it's like one time a devotee noticed that Prabhupada was having such wonderful interactions with everyone. Young people, old people, all different kinds of people. And he said, Prabhupada, everyone loves you. And Prabhupada said, yes, because I love everyone. So, I mean, that comes with God consciousness side by side. You know, along with God consciousness doesn't just mean I love God and everyone, I hate everyone else. No, God conscious means, you know, I love God and everyone else is part of God, so I love them too. You know, so some people think that, oh, you Hare Krishnas, you just love Krishna, you don't care about your families. No, who said that? No,
we
of
love the
course not.
whole. Yeah.
The family is also part of God. You can't separate God's family from God. You know, and that is, you know, I mean, I say my wife or my kids or whatever, but they're actually Krishna's, you know, in my house or my car, but it's actually Krishna's. So, you know, it's all Krishna's paraphernalia, Krishna's property, Krishna's energy, Krishna's potency. So we have to have respect for them too. You know, and that's why the very first verse of Isopanisad says you don't have a right to infringe upon anybody's quota. Nobody's. You can't infringe upon anybody's quota in the universe. You don't have that right because, you know, Krishna loves all his children. He's given everyone a quota and he's out there to protect them too. The father's going to protect the biggest, strongest, intelligent kid, and he's going to protect the most youngest, stupidest, you know, kid as well. You know, so that's the parent is equal to everyone, you know, to all of his children. So, you know, so yeah, it's a chain reaction. If we're not humble and we become proud, then you're violent, then it's all downhill. And Krishna says that, wow, if you look towards the end of the 16th chapter, which is the divine demoniac natures, the end of the 16th chapter, Krishna tells like around 18th, 19th verse in the 16th chapter what he does to a soul who acts in an envious, hurtful way to others. He says he perpetually pushes them down into the lowest species of life. Means they're going to become like a germ or like some microscopic organism floating in the Pacific Ocean. You know, they're going to become, what's that?
Coronavirus.
Yeah, maybe they're a coronavirus. Yeah. So basically, you know, that they're out of the way of, you know, harm, maybe not coronavirus because coronavirus is harming others, but they're put into a body where they can't do any more harm. So he'll stick them in the body of a tree where they can't do anything to anyone, or stick them in some bug or something or some worm and stool somewhere where they can't hurt anyone anymore. You know, so violence is, you know, if we act in a violent way, actually the real violence is to ourselves. The main person a violent person hurts is themselves. We are basically condemning ourselves to being in a straitjacket. You know what a straitjacket is? For millions and millions of lifetimes. So is that what we want to do? Put up your hand if you want that. You know, so human life, we have to be very careful. Have to be very careful. And you know, if a tiger is violent, there's no reaction. A cat or a dog is violent and rips something to pieces, there's no reaction. If a dog rips a human being to pieces, there's no karma. But if a human does something wrong, than there is, you know, because a human being is supposed to know right from wrong. The animal's just acting, you know, out of instinct. It's forced to act. But the interesting thing is, we're not forced, like I said, to respond in a particular way. We choose to respond in a particular way. We might not think we have much choice, because it can be, the space of time might not be very long, is it? Between someone throws a punch at you and between you throw the punch back, it doesn't seem like there's much of a gap there. But there is a gap. There is a gap. And I'm not saying you shouldn't throw a punch. Sometimes you should. Like if someone came to attack my wife, how would I choose to respond?
You'd kill him.
Yeah, I'd kill him. You know, so that's because I think, well, what does the scripture say I should do in this situation? And it says there's 6 kind of aggressors that they can be killed and there's no reaction. And, you know, like if one, you know, attacks your wife or commits adultery to your wife, you can kill him. You know, so, you know, you respond in that way. Of course, you might think, what would human society's law deal with the thing as well? So, you know, but the thing is, you think, you know, you use your intelligence, you know, what am I going to do? Okay, now I'm put into this situation. What is the right thing to do in this situation? You know, so there is something. But like if an animal's hungry, it's not thinking, you know, shouldn't I eat this thing? No, it's just going to eat it like that. Anyway, I mean, we haven't got very far, but I mean, I think these are very interesting.
No, that's pretty good. I mean, yeah, it's clearly specifying step by step what the qualities and how you should, you know, that's very, very, you know, very practical. I mean, you can see that, you know, you need to develop those qualities, I think, to progress.
And this is what they should be teaching in every school on the planet.
Exactly.
This is real knowledge.
Agree.
This is real education. To be humble and not proud and be non-violent. And but what does that look? But look, I mean, we're going over time, but I think it's just essential while I remember this. What is the effect of our modern education is that people are becoming proud. That we're coming out of the education thinking, I'm great, you know, and I can exploit everything here is all for me to enjoy. It's all mine. You know, it's like, that's just ignorance, but we call it knowledge. But it's the opposite to what Chris is saying is knowledge. You know, our modern education's making us arrogant. It's making us proud. It's making us abusive, offensive, you know, just envious. So, you know, conceited, you know, all the terrible qualities, you know, like the opposite of being a gentleman. You know, after you've been educated in modern society, you're the opposite of, what is the opposite of being gentle? I'm trying to think what that would be. You know, just probably would say a rascal. He would call everyone a rascal, you know, so just being a rascal. And, yeah, it's just, I mean, look at talking about this, you know, one process, one result, another process, one result. So, you know, modern education, look at the result. I mean, just.
It's making.
And Prabhupada's going to mention that, you know, that like he's going to say that like children, they have no respect for elders. You know, this is one of the results of education. I mean, I remember that how it's changed so much. Even in my youth, we really respected our elders. I would never dare, you know, arguing with my father or arguing with the headmaster at school or any teacher or anything. And you know, we always respected someone older than us. But now that's gone out the window. Now, you know, a so-called educated person, they'll have a full-on argument with someone that's old enough to be their grandfather, or someone has a big position and they're nobody, and they'll full-on even fight. They'll even physically fight with the teacher. That was like unthinkable even 30 years ago. You know, 20 or 30 years ago, that was unthinkable. And now it's like, they're so arrogant. The teacher says, sit down, and they'll just be chucking stuff at the teacher. Or sometimes they'll even take a gun to the school and shoot the teacher. In America, I mean, it's out of hand, isn't it? It's crazy.
But now they call teachers by their first name, even parents, or they call them by the first name, and that's unheard of. I mean,
especially if you're from India, you will be, you're very respectful of your teacher. You'll either call him sir or, guru or some very respect. We never take name. I mean, that's culture probably. I mean, it doesn't make, but still, I mean, you're saying right. I mean, the students, or you can see, I mean, one of the teacher, I think my neighbor, he was saying he is a primary school teacher, and he was telling, one of the guy was telling, you're wearing the same shirt you were wearing yesterday. I mean, how do you talk to your teacher like that? Even the color is same. I mean, it just reflects on whole society. I mean, it's So I can't. Maybe I'm from older generation. Probably it's like that. But yeah, what you were saying, that people are not respecting elders, not talking properly. I mean, disrespectful. Not that's true. That's I've seen. I mean, that has grown, I guess. Yeah.
So we have to take a serious look at what real knowledge is, what real education is. If we think what's called education and knowledge in modern day society, if you look at it more closely, you realize it's not really. If that's what knowledge is, I don't want it.
It's the one side of the knowledge.
Bad results.
It's one side of the knowledge. I mean, it's just the material knowledge, and you're proud of it. You don't know the other half, the core part, the root part. You don't know. So, and that's where ignorance is there. I mean, so-called knowledge is that. What is it? And material knowledge. You have no idea about the spiritual things beyond what you see and what you, feel around it. The knowledge, So we are just going to university, and knowledge we are getting is all material knowledge, right? I mean, we are studying material. We are, and we are creating things from material and becoming proud of it, or, as you said. So the knowledge is not complete. That's what the problem is. See, the whole knowledge is not there. The spiritual part is missing.
Yeah.
And that's where these scriptures come in, I think.
Sense of entitlement. I was getting into an argument at work because now when they have all these space explorations and they're discovering planets with resources, water or some minerals or whatever, and they were all talking about how we can take the stuff from there, and I said, no, you can't go and demolish every planet around. You can't. I mean, you've exhausted all resources here. You can't just go, oh, but it doesn't belong to anyone. I said, no. I said, it'll just throw balance off. You can't do that. But, they thought I was really weird. But I...
Yeah. I was listening to one of the interviews, Prabhupada's interview about, I think, when the Americans went into moon or something. And he was saying that you can go, but you can't live there because you are not made for there. You can just go for some time, but you can't live there. Because that's not your, you're not made to live there.
You don't have a body for that kind of environment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's the word.
And you don't have the karma for it either, because it's a heavenly planet, so you don't have that karma.
Yeah.
But even some modern educators, interestingly enough, they've also realized the defects of modern education, and they promote what's called values education, to rather than just teaching kids about material things, but teach them values. I mean, once they have the right values, then they can work out things themselves. And this is like what Krishna's talking about too, is that real knowledge education is more about values. Like humility is a value. Non-violence is a value. So these, rather than just teaching them, some information, about how a car works and a plane works and a computer works and everything, but teach them more about values. How to, like Prabhupada's saying, being a gentleman, that we should teach, because when we're born, we're like animals. you know, because we're ignorant, right? Even we know that from having our kids, right? Our kids are like animals when they're born, you know, they just know about food and that's all, you know, and then they start fighting and everything. And then you try to teach them how to be a good human being, you know, so you teach them values, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
So this is what here we're learning is proper values, good values. And that's what's going to lead us towards God realization. You know, first of all, we have to come to the mode of goodness, and then we can go to the spiritual platform. You can't go to the spiritual platform from ignorance and passion. You know, you can go there from goodness. So goodness, that's like being a perfect gentleman. You have good values, you have good qualities. And from that point, then you can understand who you are, you can understand God and make progress there. If you're just animalistic mentality, you know, raping, pillaging, murdering, lying, cheating, everything, there's no way you're gonna get elevation from that, you know. So that's what's worked on. Anyway, I think that's
Yeah, I think
enough for now.